Hey guys, my last video on how a pro Deadlock player builds did quite well, so today I want to make another video, and today's video is going to be on some of the best items that exist in Deadlock. And these items I think are strong both in pro play and regular competitive Deadlock play, whether you're Ascendant, Oracle, Phantom, Initiate, it doesn't matter. I think these items are strong across all regions of Deadlock gameplay. So if you enjoy the video, please leave a comment. If you want to leave a comment with your thoughts and opinions, you're more than welcome to do that as well. And yeah, so hope you enjoyed the video. So I'm aware that there was a patch for Deadlock recently, and some of these items got tuned, and this video is in scope of that patch. I have considered the patch and all the changes in it, but regardless, the first item that we're going to go over and discuss today is Headhunter. So Headhunter, I believe, is a very strong item for a few reasons. First off, and I think the most oblivious reason to why this item is strong, is the heal per headshot. The heal per headshot is a percent heal. So this item essentially will be good at all stages in the game, regardless if you're buying it late, regardless if you're buying it early. The percent heal per headshot gives this item infinite scaling. So it'll exist or be strong at all stages of the game. The second biggest reason why I think this item is very strong is the headshot bonus damage. So if we look at when you would buy this item, usually in pro play, if you want a little insight, players, what they do is they rush this item very early. And they rush this item very early first because of the heal per headshot, as we discussed. But the second biggest reason as to why is the headshot damage bonus. So the headshot damage bonus, when you buy this item, so like what, you'll be about 3.4k souls when you buy the 3.2k item. Notice how your HP is at 889. Okay, if you buy extra health, you have 1,000. Okay, nonetheless, it's about 800 to 1,000 HP. Headhunter, what it does is this does 10% of your health when you buy it extremely early, because the headshot damage bonus is 120. So like whatever 120 divided by 889 is, that you're gonna die basically very, very quickly to this item. And if you don't have this item early game, you're not gonna be able to heal or out sustain someone with Headhunter because of the heal per headshot. And this item is only really good, in my opinion, on characters like Wraith, on characters like Abrams, on characters that can easily hit headshots. Now, on a character like, for example, Holiday, you have to, like, your gun, you only get so many shots, very hard to hit headshots. Wraith, on the other hand, all you need to do is just spray your gun, and chances are you'll hit one of the headshots, or one bullet will hit the head, which procs the Headhunter. So making sure you're building this item on characters that can actually utilize it quite well is extremely important. Another big reason as to why this item is extremely strong, in my opinion, is the item, when you buy it at 3.2k, it gets you to that exact 3.2k threshold for your weapon investment. And if you notice, when you look at the weapon investments, the 2.4k, the 3.2k is a 7% bonus increase. The 800 to 1.6 is a 2% bonus increase. The 1.6 to 2.4 is only about 4%. So in scope of the other increases is in bonus, this is probably one of the biggest jumps for your weapon investment. And having that 20% weapon damage at, like, when are you getting about 3.4k souls? I would say probably after the first buff spawn, so about 6 to 7 minutes. Having 20% weapon damage and at 6 to 7 minutes gives you so much wave shove, gives you so much tower damage, gives you so much harass to the enemy, because not only do you have the 120 headshot bonus damage, but you have the weapon damage from the investment. Overall, this item is extremely broken, and it is still broken even though it got nerfed. The stats also are fantastic. 5% weapon damage, 75 bonus health. Don't even really describe this more, but Headhunter is definitely one of the best items in Deadlock right now. So the next item I'd like to go over is Fortitude. And the biggest thing with Fortitude as to why it's strong is because of its passive. So the bonus health, the 375 bonus health, is obviously very, very good. There's not a lot of items in this game that give you as much HP. I mean, we can go through all of these items And there really isn't something like Fortitude that gives you like 400 HP. The closest item I can probably think that gives you that much HP is Colossus. Nonetheless, that is a big reason why people build it. You know, the bonus health, but not as big as a passive. Another reason is that Fortitude builds out of extra health, which is an extremely strong laning phase item. Just giving yourself more HP early in the lane can be very viable against bursty characters such as Lash, or characters like Viper that literally need you to have like low percentages of HP for them to kill you, you know, with the Viper Venom. So those are two small reasons. And obviously, let's get into the passives now. So the passives for Fortitude are after not taking damage for 12 seconds, gain 3% max health regen. When you are above 75% health, you have bonus weapon damage and move speed. So the regen passive, the implications of this in pro play, I will say this is like a big pro play item, is oftentimes you're in the side lane. And when you're in the side lane, you need to keep your wave shoved out as much as you possibly can. Because this allows, you know, the enemy from not leaving the side lane to roam into the mid lane, to invade your jungle, etc., etc. So, like, oftentimes when you're in the side lane, you know, you hit the tower, you get low, right? And the normal reaction to this is you'd either need heal right, or you'd either need extra regen to heal your HP, or you'd have to go back to the base. And going back to the base takes about this long. So we're going back to the base, going back to the base. I'm gonna sell my Fortitude so you can't see the healing. So as you can see, this takes a very, very long time to do. To travel to the base, heal, and then you go back. And in this time frame, the other enemy in your lane could roam to, you know, the mid lane. They could invade your jungle. They could take your tower. They could do a lot of things with this downtime that you have traveling back and forth into the lane. But with Fortitude, on the other hand, what you need to do with Fortitude is this works very well with the boxes, and I'll explain why. So with Fortitude, you know, you go in the lane, do damage or whatever. You're saying, oh, I'm low. Okay. Normally, you'd have the back here. But luckily, with Fortitude, what you can do is you can see here, I'm being efficient while also healing. So I'm doing the boxes. And Fortitude kind of got buffed this patch alongside with the boxes, because now, like, you know what I mean? When you're sitting with your Fortitude, it's more worthwhile to just sit and heal with Fortitude, because you can go hit these boxes that have a 10% increased, you know, chance to drop souls and stuff. And as you can see, we're back to full health that quickly, and now we can redo our thing, and then we continue the process over and over and over. So Fortitude is strong, obviously because of the regen passive, but it is also a symptom, in my opinion, of the boxes having a higher chance of dropping the soul orb pickups and the you know, these things dropping the buff pickups as well, like this fire rate buff here. So yeah, Fortitude, definitely one of the stronger items in Deadlock. And I honestly think even without the weapon damage and move speed conditional, this item would still be probably built a lot. I'm sure there would be some kind of like, you know, trade-off, like, you know, if Valve ever want to nerf this item, if they decide to remove the weapon damage and the move speed, they might add something else instead. But nonetheless, I think this item is fantastic. It's very, very good in pro play, and I think it's probably very, very good in normal play as well. So the next item that I want to talk about that has become strong because of the patch is Fury Trance. So Fury Trance is good for one of three reasons, and the biggest reason that I want to talk about why Fury Trance is good is that it builds out of Bullet Lifesteal. So Fury Trance, how I like to view it, it is cheaper in my opinion than like a regular 3200 item that doesn't build out of an item. It's kind of like Fortitude, right, that we just talked about. So when you buy Bullet Lifesteal, Fury Trance is only 1600, right? And this is important because in pro play, and even in some regular Deadlock games, there's a term that I like to use that is called tempoing. And what tempoing is, in my eyes, is buying when you are heading or going to begin a pivotal fight. So you are like spending your money before doing something very important. When you have the Fury Trance item, or you're looking to build the Fury Trance item, it is much easier to purchase this item and tempo with because it is cheaper inherently when you have Bullet Lifesteal, right? Spear Resilience is much, much more difficult to tempo in because it's more expensive, right? So it's like a cheaper item, essentially. So that's, in my opinion, one of the biggest reasons as to why this item is good. The next two reasons as to why this item is good is if we look at the fire rate and the spirit resist, these values are extremely, extremely high. So 40% fire rate, that is something that no item really gives in this game, like for such a long duration. Fury Trance is a 6-second duration with a 10-second downtime because the active is a 16-second cooldown. This is reducible by duration, obviously, and cooldown items, but essentially you have 6 seconds of Fury Trance every 10 seconds or so. So Burst Fire is only a 3.5-second duration with a 8-second cooldown for 35% fire rate. Ricochet is 25% fire rate for 6400. Swift Striker is 20% fire rate flat. So those are your main 3 fire rate items in this game for gun carry characters. Call to Sacrifice also only gives you 25% fire rate for the 170-second duration active. So these are like really the only 4 or 3 items that you're going to build, in my opinion, in the game for fire rate. And there is no item that gives as much as Fury Trance, as you could see. Now, the Spear Resist is also another very important part. Spear Resist, historically in Deadlock, has been something that has always been a little harder to access. It might not exist or be true within this patch, but still, when I look at characters, this is anecdotal, so sorry. When I look at characters, they oftentimes have more bullet resist than Spear Resist, and I have to invest more often into items like Weakening Headshot than I do items like Spear Shredder Bullets. So first, Spear Resist is already something that's very hard to come across or come by. Second, 40% Spear Resist as a value as in itself is extremely, extremely, extremely high. Spear Resilience only gives you 30% Spear Resist, which goes to 60% below 35% health. Enchanter's Emblem only gives you 18% at 1600. And you have other items like Witchmail, 20% for 6400. What else is there? Spellbreaker, 6400 for 25%. Siphon Bullets, 12% for 6400. Infuser, 16%, 6400. So there really isn't any other item in the game that gives you as much spirit as Fury Trance. And I can understand that this item might seem a little weird because it silences you, disables stamina usage and regeneration, but this item is very, very, very strong for those characters that can use it. And it's mainly M1 characters. So characters like Warden, characters like Viper, well, maybe not Viper because you need the slide, characters like Haze, characters like Wraith, characters like Infernus, because these characters, you're not really an ability intensive character. The most you're going to do as Wraith with Fury Trance is you're going to pop your 3 and then your Fury Trance and you just shoot, right? You oftentimes don't need to dash around while shooting as Wraith, so you can just sometimes stand still. I mean, sometimes you will if you're kiting, but the whole idea with Fury Trance is it makes you so tanky that you don't need to like dash around with the 40% Spear Resist and the 40% fire rate. So yeah, this item is very, very strong. I'm probably always going to be building this on Wraith now with the new patch, and I expect Valve to nerf it very, very soon. So the next item that I'd like to go over, and I think is very strong, is Tank Buster. So last patch, a lot of characters didn't have as much HP as they do now. Generally, in Deadlock, characters overall just have more health. I've seen characters have about 3,000 to 4,000 health in this game. So an item where, you know, characters have a lot more health, like Tank Buster, is going to be, in my opinion, extremely strong. So Tank Buster, what it does is it deals 40 base damage and 6% max health bonus damage at a 12-second charge time. Charging in Deadlock is a newly introduced mechanic where essentially you can use the item that charges up multiple times before it fully charges. So if you notice right now, Tank Buster is fully charged. If I use my Flying Cloak, for example, on this AI dummy here, it starts charging, and then I can use it again to get the benefits of where it's currently at. So this is about half, so it's going to deal 3% max health bonus damage. This is about a fourth. It's going to be able to deal about 2% max health bonus damage, and whatever the 40 base damage is like divided by where it was starting the charge or ended the charge, whatever, right? You get the idea. So this item is obviously just very strong overall. You'll see on the screen some damage breakdowns of me building Tank Buster. Anecdotally, I will say it just like Tank Buster is just a huge portion of my damage when I'm playing characters that can utilize it. Pocket, Yamato, who else could use it? Lady Geist, etc., etc. Tank Buster is always one of the highest damage outputting like items that I have in for my character. So it is a very strong item in my opinion. I don't know, something has to be like overtuned with it because it is always just dealing top damage or nearly top damage on my characters. And you shouldn't build this though on characters that can't utilize it. For example, you should probably never build this on Wraith because you're probably not proccing Tank Buster with your 120 damage cards. But on characters obviously like Grey Talon, you know, with your charge shot that can easily proc the Tank Buster, I would highly recommend building this item. The next item that I like to talk about, and you're going to see a trend, is Decay. So most items in this game that deal max health or current health damage per second are just overall very strong because more characters in this game have more HP because of the new item shop changes or whatever. Decay, once again, with Tank Buster, just is an item that has historically, since this patch has dropped, has done a lot of damage. And the craziest thing in my opinion about this item is the stats it gives and the scaling. If you notice, 8 spirit power and 90 bonus health are not very bad whatsoever. Those are very good stats that all characters can utilize. The bleed damage scales off spirit, so you can see 2.61% bleed damage per second. If I build a bunch of spirit items, that will now go to 3.10% bleed damage per second. Gives healing reduction, which is a very valuable stat now. I mean, not really now, but it's just a valuable stat in general because healing is quite, real, or not real. It's quite plentiful in Deadlock, obviously, with items like Bullet Life Seal, Healing Nova, characters being incentivized to heal with Healing Tempo, Infuser, etc. And the range at which you can cast this as well scales with Spirit. So it's right now 23%. If I buy some more Spirit items, like I did the damage per second to showcase that, now I can just like cast this item on cooldown from like a million miles away. It's basically another ability. And as you can see here, this dummy that has like a million HP, look at the damages it's doing to this dummy. It's basically an ability on its own. And I think most characters that can build Decay, like Pocket for example, should. Because you'll see on this little graph that'll pop up on the screen, Decay was like one of my highest damaging abilities or items, whatever you want to call it, just like Tank Buster. So obviously there's items that counter this item like debuff reducer, debuff remover, but characters in Deadlock are less incentivized to build that item because debuff remover and debuff reducer, or rather debuff remover, doesn't work on ultimates anymore. So it doesn't work on Ivy Sounds, doesn't work on Pocket Affliction, so people are less incentivized to buy it. And people, in my opinion, lose value from buying debuff remover if they're only building it to remove it from Decay, because you can't use it to remove the ultimate debuffs anymore. So another note I have is assuming full HP and 0 spirit scaling, you know, the 2.5 spirit. So you see 2.5% bleed damage per second, which is relative to max health. You are dealing about 25% of the enemy's health with one item, assuming that they're full HP, because you can see it's 11-second duration. And it looks like you can also scale the duration with duration items, which is also insane. So Tank Buster, to, you know, compare, only does about 6% max health bonus damage or whatever on a 12-second charge up time, while Decay does 25%, assuming, you know, 0 spirit scaling, 25% current health or 25% health at a 10-second duration, assuming full HP and whatnot. I mean, it's probably less than 25% health because they take damage as they take damage from the Decay. So it's probably going to be like 20% or like 19% instead of 25%. But nonetheless, in my opinion, this item is just insane. You should build it. It's very good. So the next item that I would like to highlight and discuss is Enchanters Emblem. So the biggest thing about why this item, in my opinion, is strong is not because of the spirit power, not because of the out of combat regen, not because of the spirit resist. It is the cooldown reduction. So cooldown reduction in Deadlock is a very exclusive stat. If we look at cooldown reduction here, there's only about 6 items in the game that give cooldown reduction if we count compressed cooldown and superior cooldown as one item. So it is Enchanters Emblem, which is the item we're talking about, superior cooldown, which we just highlighted, Spellslinger, which is an item that only Geist players build, Witchmail, which isn't really built that often, it's more of a niche, cheesy item that you do like some kind of cool strategy with, Echo Shard, another like niche item that a lot of characters in this game aren't building, and Scourge, which is actually, in my opinion, probably one of the best items in the game, but I'm not discussing that in today's video because there's so many items that I could discuss. But essentially, there's really only 3 items in the game that give cooldown reduction because you're not building these other 3 items. So Enchanter's Emblem giving 7% cooldown reduction for 1600 gold is absolutely insane. Scourge 6400 only gives 6%, Enchanter's Emblem 7%. And I understand it's a conditional, but like when you're farming camps as pocket, you're never probably going to go below like 65% health. So using your cooldowns on camps, using your cooldowns on the wave, you're probably going to be healthy for that. You're not going to take the damage. Which in essence gives you the value of the cooldown reduction. So in my opinion, I think it's probably a must build on most characters in Deadlock that really care about the cooldowns. Like as Haze, you're probably not going to be building Enchanter's Emblem. Even then, you could still make an argument for building this item. But on a character like Dynamo, let's say, 7% goes very, very far. So if you look, it reduces the cooldown by about 15 seconds, which is quite significant for a 1600 item. So that is the final item though that I like to talk about in today's video. Obviously there's a lot more items in this game that could be in this list, but these are just the 6 that I want to highlight and discuss today. These 6 are probably my favorite out of all of them. Scourge is definitely up there as well, but I'll save that for another discussion and another video. So anyways, hope you guys enjoyed the video, and make sure to let me know how you liked the video, maybe some items that you like that aren't in the video, or if you just want to have a conversation, I don't mind. But yeah, so I'll see you guys all later in the next video. Peace.